Hi everybody, my name is Plamen Rusev. I'm chairperson of e-Academy, organizer of Webit Expo and Conferences, the biggest event for Central and in Eastern Europe in digital business and e-marketing. One of the biggest in Europe in terms of attendance, 4,300 people registered at Webit till now, and visitors from more than 9 countries, actually 13, sorry, last update a couple of minutes ago. We have 49 panels, 55 speakers, fantastic keynote guests, and here I am with the pleasure to present you Andrew Pozniak from Google. Thanks for having you here.
My pleasure to be here, Plamen.
We had a fantastic panel with you. I was having lots of different questions in my head because we were together with Google, with Mindshare, with IAB, and with Coca-Cola, one of the biggest advertisers, the biggest advertising platform represented by you, Google, the biggest interactive and offline agency, Mindshare, according to Ad Age for the last year, and the president of one of the maybe most powerful regulation institutions in the digital world. So many questions, so less time. Maybe now we can answer them.
For sure.
And I'll ask you the straight question right away. So, what are the plans of Google for the regional markets?
Sure. The region that we would call Southern and Eastern Europe is a very exciting area for us. We still feel we're very much at early days in terms of the opportunities for the market. As we discussed in the panel, we approach the market development really in 2 ways. In terms of the way that we build products that consumers will use, we obviously work very hard to tailor those on a national level. So we want to make sure that the search engine that we have for Romania is optimized, the search engine that we have for Bulgaria is optimized, for Macedonia, for Serbia, and so on. In terms of the way that we would look to develop the business opportunity, then absolutely we would say that this is a region which it makes sense for us to look at on a regional basis, not on a country by country basis, because there will be certain patterns and certain similarities in terms of the level of development that the markets are at now, which mean that there's a benefit to looking across several markets at the same time.
Google never announces figures on the volumes of the different markets. I'll be diplomatic. I won't ask you for particular figures, of course. If you want, please share. But could you please give us more information on the market development in terms of trends, comparison between the years 2006, 2007, 2008, and 2009, or maybe shorter period? It depends on how many figures you have with you now.
Sure. I mean, I think we will see what we certainly see in markets, whether it's Bulgaria, whether it's Serbia, whether it's Romania, whether it's Greece, we see a constant underlying pattern of growth in users, internet users online, access via broadband, and when you get more users online, when you get better internet access, you get more people using search engines such as ourselves, and those people will use those search engines more often. So the underlying pattern that we would see is very much an increase in the number of searches that take place on Google's search engines. To give you an example, a recent example, where we look at the summer month, let's say of June, July, and August this year, and compare them with last year, the same months, we see that total search volumes are approximately just over 50% more in absolute terms. As you say, I can't share the exact numbers, but in terms of the relative growth year on year, we see that search volumes are running at over 50% more than they were in the same period last year. And when we see growth figures like that, then that's obviously an exciting opportunity for us. And our challenge is to keep those markets growing at that 50% per year basis.
e-Academy's researchers made a small research on the Romanian Bulgarian market. Actually, not very small. We step on based on the IAB Alex report for 2008, where we saw that the display ads and classifieds and email are approximately 20 million. So we estimated the search marketing, the search advertising market at the amount of 10 million euro for Romania. Are we close?
I mean, again, it's a fair question, but not a question that I can answer. I mean, what I can say though is that we see, very much a pattern of for a certain number of searches that take place, let's say on a monthly basis, then the propensity of advertisers to advertise against those searches, we see a pattern of growth over time. So what we see is we see growth for us, and I'm sure for other online companies too, that's a multiplier of the number of searches that take place, but also the maturity of the market. So we would expect to see the market growing at a rate that's faster than the absolute query growth, because the amount of revenues that we generate per 1,000 queries at the moment in Romania or in Bulgaria will be lower than we would generate in the UK or the Netherlands or Scandinavia. So our challenge is to bring the current levels of business and advertiser maturity and try and educate and inform and work with advertisers so that they have the confidence and the type of returns that we're getting in other markets.
Thank you very much. I feel privileged to ask you this question, so I'll go straight. What are the social networks for Google? A platform or a competitor? And how do you think it will develop in the future? I mean the search of Twitter and the real-time search, of course. I mean the content generated in Facebook. Those two, which are exploding, especially in the region, but is the same all over. And the other, of course, but those two generally, compared to your business planning, compared to your advertising infrastructure and exposure. So how do you see, what are they for Google?
Sure, I think it's, we've obviously certainly seen we've been able to look at the growth with Facebook, for example, in the US, where obviously Facebook originated, and then it's very reasonable to assume that the type of growth patterns that have taken place in social media in the US will take place in Europe and in the newer markets within Europe as well. Twitter is obviously a very interesting tool. It has very high levels of adoption in certain sectors and certain demographics rather than others. As a lot more content becomes online, then the challenge for us, not as a content generator but as an indexer of content, is that brings us new and exciting challenges in terms of how we try and understand that content and how we return that relevant content to users when they're searching for it. So, for example, real-time, I think for us, whether it's real-time content or content which is updated on a less frequent basis, they're all challenges for us in terms of how we make sure that our search returns are as accurate and as relevant as possible to the user. And of course, if we're not providing the responses that a user wants to see, then they'll go elsewhere to find that. So it's a constant challenge for us, and we're making the investment in those areas to make sure that our products develop at the pace that they need to develop.
Google is catching up with real-time search. Should I understand it like this?
I wouldn't say that. I mean, I think catching up is the wrong word. That
sorry for using it for Google.
No,
you're pushing the market so much. So excuse my bad word phrasing, but you're developing tools in this area.
Yes, where there is a lot of content in an area, then you can assume that users will want to find it. We see one of our core roles at making sure that we put the right user in contact with the right content or the content that they're looking for.
Okay, thank you. What are your plans for the region? Are you planning to open your offices in Bulgaria and Romania, etc.? What is your business planning for the next couple of years?
Sure. So we're always on a quarterly by quarterly basis. We're evaluating the resources that we have in regions and in countries, and updating our plans and our business development for 2010 and onwards. I think if you look at the pattern for us that when we look at the more recent office openings for us, Athens, our office in Greece, was a relatively recent opening for us last year.
So is Croatia?
And Croatia being one of the most recent there. I have a colleague who's working out of the Ukraine, and he's working with Ukrainian clients, but we don't have a formal structure within the market at the moment. We will always be evaluating what we can be doing. Is it the right time to open an office in Romania or an office in Bulgaria? In a way, though, I think the right question to ask is: Are we putting resources into these markets, even if those resources aren't based here 100%? And that's certainly the case, that we're investing in tools and products and that consumers can use in the Bulgarian market, in the Romanian market, and I will have. I have Bulgarian colleagues, I have Romanian colleagues who work from our centralised team in Dublin and Ireland, who will be working with companies and advertisers in the
account
markets here.
managers from Dublin for
Absolutely, yes. Yeah. And
so this answers the question which I'm sure that the market players, especially the digital agencies, are interested in, how they communicate with Google. So the answer is that there are account managers. I'm talking about, of course, certain volumes. Am I right?
yes, absolutely. Yes, we
What are the volumes for becoming starting to work with account manager in Dublin?
Sure. I mean, there's no absolute cut-off. I mean, we would look at the resources that we have, and we would look at on one side who are our bigger customers now, and on the other side who are our customers that aren't large now that we think have have a significant opportunity to grow.
Should we share how the interactive agencies can get in touch with the responsible person for the market?
Yes, sure. So
I think that this will be helpful.
Yes, absolutely. So we would, whether it's an interactive agency or whether it's a client directly, then we would aim to work with the relevant clients. I mean, what we tend to do is, on one side, from our own internal systems, we can look at who's advertising with us now, and we can proactively reach out to them.
Right.
At the same time, if we can also look at our own analysis of the market and look at who is, let's say, working from an advertising perspective, but not working with us, and we will also proactively aim to reach out with them. Also, when you go to, let's say, the homepage for Google in Bulgaria and Romania, and you click on the advertiser link, then that will take you through to how you can submit a query or a question that's in relation to your particular advertising question.
Okay, thank you for this. There's one thing I have to ask you, so I
Sure.
hope you don't mind to answer. We built Webit because 2 years ago we set up the structure which is educating the market. The mission was to expand the market with educated people who are going to be part of the big advertisers, who will create digital campaigns which will actually make difference, and there'll be return on investment. Because the bad practices bring bad market results. So this was our mission, to create well-prepared people ready for the advertisers. That's why we built Webit as a platform for the whole region, and hopefully we will have it together. Now, my question is in this direction. Is it part of the Google strategy to support local educational institutions, especially e-Academy, which is a governmental license, and maybe we can plan, until you have your office in Bulgaria, we can plan scheduled trainings and thus expand the market?
Sure. I mean, from our perspective,
you did it for Webit with Google Academy, but
yes.
I mean, in a much smaller size, because 4,300 people is huge. But I believe in concentration. You have to be very concentrated. You have to deal with the right people at the right place, and to work with 10. With the idea of the small groups for social media is the same in education. You cannot educate the whole market at the same time. But if we do it in small groups for different types of streams in digital, then we can really make the difference. So. Are you willing to be part of this process somehow, and to start thinking about it in the future?
Absolutely. I mean, I appreciate exactly that what you say, that it's unlikely that events the scale of Webit will be reproduced elsewhere within the region. So the next stage then for us is to say, well, okay, what are natural groupings of the industry? Is that a conference that's focused on a particular sector, such as retail or travel, for example? Is it a grouping that's based on, let's say, online agencies or prospective agencies wanting to work increasingly online coming together? Is it, let's say, an event organised by a particular, let's say, municipal or regional body within a market? We're always very open to being approached and to have a discussion in terms of our involvement where a quorum of relevant and interested individuals are together. Then we're always keen to support those events and help educate and help develop the market. And with the resources that we have, then where more individuals are together in one place, then that's obviously better than or more effective for us than being able to having to talk to people individually.
Okay, Andrew, thank you very much for being in Bulgaria. Thank you very much for joining Webit. For me, it was a pleasure having you here. First of all, knowing you and speaking to each other, sharing your ideas of the future of digital. I hope that it was very interesting for our viewers also. Of course, enjoy our next videos from Webit TV. My name is Paul Milusev, chairperson of E-Academy, the only education institution with government license for digital industry and organizer of Webit. Thank you.